Hello guys, you're welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to provide solution to some questions on physics, particularly on vectors, addition of vectors, and algebra that has to do with vectors, unit vectors, and basically everything that has to do with unit vectors. So let's take the first question. The first question here says, if A is equal to, now your A was given to you as equals to 4i plus 2j plus 3k, and then B is 2i plus j plus 6k, and C is equal to 3i plus j plus k. Then A plus B plus C would be equal to. Now, how do you solve a question like this? When they say A plus B plus C, what they ask you to do is just to add everything here together. So if we add 4 plus 2 is 6, 6 plus 3 is 9. So here it gives us 9i plus 2 plus, this is j here, 2j plus 1j is 3j plus another j here is what? 4j plus 3k plus 6k, 9k plus 1k is 10k. So your answer is 9i plus 4j plus 10k. 9i plus 4j plus 10k. And that is option B is the correct answer. 9i plus 4j plus 10k. Now the next question says, find the sum of vectors A, which is equals to 60 degrees, and vector B, which is equals to 130 degree. Now, if you are given a question like this, you can use two methods to solve it. One of the ways is resolution of vector into both the x and the y component. So, if we should draw this vector into the Cartesian coordinates, what do we have? We have something like this. We have something like this. Now, these are y-axis. These are negative x-axis. These are positive x-axis. And these are negative y-axis. Now, if you have angle 60, now everyone knows that this is angle 90. This is angle 180. This angle 270. And then finally, this angle 360. Now this, if you place your protractor here to measure, you discover that your protractor usually starts from a point like this. Here it will be 0. Then here is 90 degree. And then here is 180. If you turn it the other way again, here will be 180. Here will be 270. That is if you turn the protractor upside down. Here will be 270. 270, and then finally it will come back again to 360. So we said it has moved a complete circle, and a complete circle is how many degree? 360 degree. Now we define a vector quantity as a quantity that has both magnitude and direction. If a vector quantity has both magnitude and direction, so in this case, what do you think we can do? If we remove all this, already having known that we have our x and y axis, what would this now give to us? This negative y. So we are going to have 60 degree is somewhere around here. Now what is the magnitude of 60 degree? We have this 60 degree. Then we have 5 meter as the magnitude. Now we have another one, 130 degree. If here is 60, here is I think 130. So here, from here this way, we can say from here like this is 130 degree. Now the sum of angles in a straight line is how many degree? 180 degree. So if from here like this is already 130, it means that this other position here will be how many degree? 50 degree rather. If from here down to this place is 130, we know that the sum total of everything here is 180. So this angle here will be how many degree? 50 degree. So instead of putting 130 here, we can decide to put 50 degree here to show that this angle to here is 50 degree, and then the magnitude is 6 meters. So at this point now, we can now resolve this into our x and y components. Now, how do we actually do something like this? In most cases, what we normally do is come here and then write x and then y. What were the magnitude? So that you not confuse yourself. You first of all put magnitude here. Then we now have their x-axis and their y-axis. And then at the end of the day, what do? We sum them together. So how many magnitude do we have here? We have about 2 magnitudes. So you come here and say, this is 5 and this is 6, which are the 2 magnitude you have there. Now, let's solve for the s component of this particular magnitude, which is the vector of 5 meters. Now, this is the s-axis and this is the y-axis. Of course, we know that this angle here is what? 90 degree. Now, if this angle is 90 degree, it means that this position here is the hypothalamus. My mind, biology. As a pharmacist, biology. Okay. So, this is the hypotenuse. Okay. And this is the opposite. So, in order to get this angle here, which is in order to get the magnitude of the s-axis here, what do we say? What's the relationship? This is adjacent, and let's take hypotenuse, since we know adjacent and hypotenuse. Adjacent and hypotenuse is what? Cos theta. So we can say cos theta is adjacent all over hypotenuse. Okay? Now, so our cos, what is the theta here? 60 degree. Is adjacent is s, all over hypotenuse is 5 meters. So our x, this over 1, if you cross multiply, s times 1 is s, is equals to 5 cos 60. And then s will be equals to 5 times, I think cos 60 is half, which is 0.5. And then s is equals to 2.5. So we come back here and say our s for this one is 2.5. Now, is it in the positive x-axis or in the negative x-axis? It's in the positive x-axis. Are you getting it? So you indicate it as positive, which is 2.5. And that is the solution to that one for the x-axis. Now, how about the y-axis? What's the relationship? You agree with me that the relationship on the y-axis is sine theta. So most times, the relationship on the x-axis is usually cos theta, and those on the y-axis is sine theta. So if we should go by that, what are we going to have? We have sine 60 is equal to, what is sine 60? Opposite, which is y, all over hypotenuse, which is 5 meters. So y will be equals to 5 meters, which is 5 sine 60. And then y will be equals to 5 times sine 60 is 0.8660, and then y will be equal to, and then finally you are going to have this as 4.33. So our y-axis is 4.33. Now, is it in the positive y-axis or negative y-axis? Of course, we know that this is on the positive y-axis. So we come here and say, for the magnitude of 5, our y-axis is 4.33. Okay, now let's go to the magnitude of 6 meters. How do we solve for that case? Now look at it very well, and then let's analyze it together. You agree with me that for this one, you have something like this. Of course, you know that this angle is angle 90, and this is what? 6 meters. This is opposite, and this is x. So this thing still come back to cos theta to get for x. This is x and this is y. Cos theta will be what? Adjacent all over hypotenuse. So cos theta, adjacent is what? What do you have as your adjacent in this case? Is x. Now, theta is 60 degree, 50 in this case rather. And then x all over hypotenuse is 6 meters. So at the end of the day, you have x is equals to 6 cos 50. And then s will be equals to 6 cos 50 is 3.86. Now, is this on the negative x-axis or on the positive x-axis? It's on the negative x-axis. So you come here and say negative what? 3.86. Now, let's look for the y component. The y component will be equal to, what are we going to have? The y component will be sine 60 is equal to y over 6, and then y, sorry, not sine 60 in this case, this sine 50, y will be equal to 6 sine 50. Why? Because the angle here is 50 degrees. So at the end of the day, you have 6 sine 50 should give us 6 sine 50 should give us 4.59, okay? So we have 4.596. Now the question is 4.596. Now the question is this on the positive y-axis or on the negative y-axis? It's on the positive y-axis. So you come here and say this is 4.596 on the positive y-axis. Now at the end of the day, what do? You add both the x and the y-axis together. Now if we sum everything here together, what is this going to give to us? It's going to give us 2.5 plus bracket minus 3.86. This gave us minus 1.36, and then this other one here 4.33 plus 4.596. This gave us 8.926. Now, have we gotten this? How do we get our resultant, which is the sum? Now, the sum, which is the resultant arrow, is usually the square root of what you have on the x-axis plus what you have on the y-axis, all squared. So our arrow in this case will be equals to the square root of what do you have in the x-axis altogether, minus 1.36 square, plus what you have on the y-axis is 8.926. And then finally, your arrow will be equals to, if you press this your calculator, what are you going to have? Finally, our answer gave us 9.02, which is in meters, 9.02 meters. And that is the answer here, 9.02 meter. Now, you may decide to end it here, or better still, you can still decide to calculate the angle. Now, the angle is usually calculated by saying tan theta is equal to whatever you have on the y-axis divided by what you have on the x-axis. So, our tan theta would be equal to, what do you have on the y-axis? Y-axis is 8.926. Okay, so we say 8.926 divided by minus 1.36, minus 1.36, and then theta will be equals to the tan inverse of anything you have here. If you sum this together, what are you going to have? Now, this one gave us minus 6.563. So you come here and then press shift tan minus 6.563. It's like there's an error somewhere. Now, this gave us theta is equal to, I think, minus 81 approximately degrees approximately. Now, if you look at this value here, it's a negative value. So in order to get a positive value, what do? We add 180 to it. So this gives us minus 81 degree plus 180 degree, so that it will become positive. They're almost the same angle, it's just giving you different direction. So this becomes minus 81 plus 180, which is 99 degree. And that was how you got the 99 degrees here as the angle, since all vector quantities must have both a magnitude and a direction. So having solved for the magnitude, you should be able to show the direction, or to show the specified direction of motion. So that is that for that question. Now let's look at the next. Now, if D is equal to, you have D is 7i minus 3j plus 2k, and then E is 4i plus 5j minus 3k. Find the scalar product of D dot E. Now, if they say you should find scalar product, what they actually ask you to do is use this to multiply this, use this to multiply this, use this to multiply this, and then sum all of them together. Now, taking into cognizance that I dot I will always give us 1, j dot j will always give us 1, and k dot k will always give us 1. If you take this into cognizance, then everything becomes easy for you. So what are we going to do now? We can say this is 7 times 4 brackets I dot I. Now, plus times minus here is what? Minus. So this becomes 3 times 5 here is what? 3 times 5. Then we have bracket j dot j. Plus times minus here is what? Minus. So you have minus. 2 times 3 is, you have 2 times 3 bracket what? Then you have j k dot k rather. Now we know that each of these will give us 1. So 7 times 4 is 28. 28 times 1 is 1 because I dot I is 1. Minus 3 times 5 is 15. Of course, this will give us 1. Then minus 2 times 3 is 6. So at the end of the day, you have 28. Minus 15 minus 6 is minus 27. And then your final answer, minus 21. And then your final answer is equals to 7. So the final answer to this question is 7, which is option C. Now let's look at the next. If D is equal to this, find the magnitude of D. Now when they say you should find magnitude, what they expect you to do is find the square root of the x component plus the square root of the y component plus the square root of the k component, all squared. Now in this case, your z component rather. Now in this case, your x is your I. This is I. Your k or your j is your y component, and then your k is your z here. So this gives us D is equals to the square root of 7 square plus bracket minus 3 square, because your y is 3. What you have here is the reciprocal, the coefficient is what you are going to place here. Then plus, what do we have here? 2 square. And then at the end of the day, what are you going to have? You are going to have the square root of 7 square is 49 plus 3 square is 9, then plus 2 square is 4. And then the magnitude of D is equals to the square root. 49 plus 9 is 58 plus 4 is 62. So when you punch the square root of 62 in your calculator, it's going to give us 7.87, which is 7.9. So the correct answer to this question is 7.9. Now, the next question says, if D is equal to this and this is equals to this, deduce the angle. So you are giving D as 7i minus 3j. This is supposed to be plus 2k. I perceive so. Yeah, plus 2k. So change this to positive. And then E is 4i plus 5j minus 3k. Now the angle between two vectors, if you find the cosine of both sides, or the cosine of the cosine of a vector, what is it going to give to you? You have something like a dot b is equal to the magnitude of a times magnitude of b cos theta. So our theta will be equals to a dot b divided by the magnitude of a times the magnitude of b. So this is what we are going to work with. In this case is d dot e. So we have d dot e is equals to magnitude of d times magnitude of e cos theta. So our theta is equal to d dot e divided by the cos inverse. This becomes cos inverse of d dot e divided by the magnitude of d and the magnitude of e. So how do we find d dot e? We already know how to go about d dot e. We say d dot e is the scalar product, and the scalar product can be gotten by multiplying what you have here. This is 7 times 4, which is 28, then minus 3 times this is, I think, minus 15, and then this is minus 6. And I believe this is what we saw the other time, 28 minus 21. This gives us 7. So the magnitude of d dot E is equal to 7. Now let's look at the magnitude of d dependently. Now the magnitude of d is, we said, the square root of 7 square plus minus 3 square plus 2 square. And magnitude of d is equal to square root of 7 square is 49, 3 square is 9, 2 square is 4. And then d is equal to square root of 62, and this is 7.9. Now how about the magnitude of E? Magnitude of E is what you have here. You square each of them and then sum them together. So this gives us 4 square plus 5 square plus bracket minus 3 square. And then the magnitude of E is equals to the square root. 4 square is 16, 5 square is 25, 3 square is 9. And then E is equal to the square root of, we have 16 plus 25 plus 9. And this gave us, everything here gave us 7.07, okay? Which is square root of 50, I believe so. Square root of 50, which is 0.707. 7.07707, right? So that is our magnitude of E. Now, how do we find the angle between them? We'll now come here and say cos theta is d dot E all over magnitude of D, then times magnitude of E. So our cos theta, d dot E is 7.0. Magnitude of D is 7.9. Magnitude of E is 7.07. And then our cos theta will be equals to, we have 7.0 divided by 7.9 times 7.07 is 55.853. And then cos theta would be equal to, then 7 divided by 853 rather, this will give us 0.1253. And then theta will be the cos inverse 0.1253. Theta will be the shift cos 0.1253, and that gave us 82.80 degree, which is approximately 83 degrees. So let's look at our options and see 82.83 degree exactly, and that is option B is the correct answer to this question. So the correct answer to this question is option B. Okay, now let's look at the next. The next question says, if D is equal to, now this question, you use the idea of matrix to solve it. When you say D cross E, it's talking about the scalar product. Okay, so in that case, what do? You say this is my this I, J, K, which are I, J, K respectively. Now under the first one we have D and we have E. Under the first one, what are you going to put there? You put what is there. So here is supposed to be I. Sorry for this mistake. So this becomes minus 5. And here is 6. And here is minus 3. Then here is 7, minus 8, and then 4. Say calculate D cross E. Now what you are going to do is pick I first. Now cancel here and here. Anything remaining, write it out. So what is remaining after cancelling both the up and the vertical and the horizontal? You are left with 6 and minus 8, then minus 3 and 4 for this one. So you now say minus J. Now the reason that is the precept for going about this question. What you normally do is then when it comes to j, you introduce a negative sign. Please take note of this. Then this becomes bracket. Now, as usual, what do? We cancel what you are actually working on now, which is j. You cancel both the vertical and horizontal of it. So if we cancel this and this, what are we left with? We are left with minus 5, minus 3, 7, and 4. Then plus k. If you cancel both the horizontal and the vertical, this and this, what are you left with? Minus 5, 7, 6, and minus 8. So at the end of the day, what are you going to have? Now, what you do normally is use this to multiply this, and then finally use this to multiply this. Are you getting it now? So if we use the first one to multiply what we have there, our I will be equal to, use this to multiply this, is going to give us 24, right? So we have 24 minus, now is subtraction, bracket. Now the next thing you do is use this to multiply this. I think there is some kind of mistakes in this particular question. Let me clarify. Okay, like I said, the textbook made a mistake because these questions are from the textbook. Here it's supposed to be positive. Oh, we are back to our fighting 5 again. Here it's positive. So if here is positive, it means here will be positive. And then finally, it means what we have here will be positive. What we have here will be positive. Okay? So here is minus, then 8 times minus 3 is minus 24. Okay? And then this bracket. Minus j bracket 4 times this is minus 20. Then we have minus 7 times minus 3 is minus 21. And then bracket close. Now, the next one we have is plus k, bracket open. 8 times minus 5 is minus 40. This times this is plus 42. And then at the end of the day, what are we going to have? I bracket 24 plus 24 minus j bracket minus 20 plus 21 plus k bracket minus, now another error here. I'm sorry. Okay, here it's supposed to be minus 42 because 7 times 6 is 42. Then you subtract normally from the middle. And then at the end of the day, you are going to have minus 40 minus 42 is minus 40 minus 42. So this gives us I. Now, 24 plus 24 is 48 times I is 48I minus, then you have j because minus 20 minus 21 is 1, then times minus j is minus j. Then you now have minus 40 minus 42 is what? Minus 82. So you say minus 82k. And then the correct answer to this question is option A. And that makes option A the correct answer to this question. Now let's look at the next. If two vectors A and B are such that A dot B is equal to 0, then now if A dot B is equal to 0, now what does that signify? It signifies that normally A dot B is what? Is A B cos theta. It means that the angle that you must place here must be such an angle such that when you multiply them, everything here is going to give us what? 0. So what angle? Cos of what will give us 0? Let's try cos 180. I think it will give us 0. Cos 180. Okay, it's minus 1. So is it cos 90? Okay, cos 90 is 0. So that angle is cos 90. And cos 90 means something is what? Perpendicular. Is that also? when you say something is at angle 90 degree, it means it's perpendicular. For instance, if we have something like this and another one coming here like this, it's at angle 90 degree. And when something is like this, you say it's what? Perpendicular. Then, when they are both going in the same direction, what do you say? Say this is what? Parallel. So let's take note of this, okay? Let's take note of this. So the correct answer to this question is perpendicular. So if two vectors are A and B are such that A dot B is equals to 0, it means that the cosine of the angle between them is what? 0. And if the cosine of the angle between them is 0, it means that everything will multiply here to be what? 0. And cosine of 0 can only be all cosine of the theta. That theta, which is the angle that its cosine will give us 0, is what? 90 degree. So the correct answer to that question is they must be perpendicular to each other. Now let's look at the next. The s and y complements of a vector are 8.7 and 5 respectively. What is the magnitude of the vector? Now you have resultant is equal to s squared plus y squared. This is how to find the magnitude. Arrow now will be equals to, what is your s squared given in this question? Is 8.7, okay? 8.7. So you say square plus y square is 5. Arrow now will be equals to the square root 8.7 square 75.69 plus 25, and then arrow will be equals to, because 5 square is what? 25. 75.69 plus 25 is what? 0.69. And then your arrow is equals to the square root of 100 is 10. So final answer to this question is 10. And that is option A. Now, what is the angle which the vector above makes with the s-axis? The angle which the vector above makes with the s-axis. Which of the vector are we talking about? This vector. Now, they told you that the s and y component is what? The s component is 8.7, and then the y component is what? 5.0. So in this case, what do? You draw. Now this is your y component, 5.0, and then what do you have here? S component. S component is 8.7. Now you drew the resultant of the vector, the angle it made. Are you getting it? The resultant was what you calculated here to be what? 10, which is your arrow. So here is 10 meters. So how do we find the angle it made with the s-axis? The angle it made with the s-axis is theta. Are you getting it now? So at the end of the day, what are you going to do? You now draw here this angle, what? 90. So which of the cosine rule, which of the rules is it going to use? Using Scalar. Which of them do you think is more applicable here? Now, you are looking for theta. You have this, you have this. Of course, you also have 5.0. Now, you should always make use of hypotenuse, okay? So if we take the s-axis here, which is 8.7, and you now say 8.7 with this will be sine theta is equal to 8.7 divided by 10. Now, in this case, which of them is it sine or cos? Let's look at it critically. Is cos. Reason being that is adjacent over hypotenuse. So this gives us cos theta is equal to 8.7 over 10. So theta will be the cos inverse of 8.7 over 10. And then theta will be the, so this gives us shift cos 8.7 then divided by 10, and that will give us 29.54. 29.54 degree, which is approximately 30 degree. So the correct answer to this question is 30 degrees. Okay, now let's look at the next. Consider two vectors, one of magnitude 3 and the other of 4 units. Which of the following is not correct? We can combine this vector to yield the resultant of. Now you have two vectors, one of magnitude 3 and the other one of magnitude 4. Now when we are talking about vectors, we said that if vectors move in the same direction, we add them. So let's consider these two as moving in the same direction. Let's say this is 3, which is smaller, and then this is 4. If they are moving in the same direction, their resultant will be what? 3 plus 4, because you are going to add them together since they are moving in the same direction. We said that when vectors are moving in the same direction, what do you do to them? You add them. So in this case, 3 plus 4, what will it give to you? 7. So it can yield a resultant of what? 7. So this is correct. We are looking for the one that is incorrect. Are you getting it? So this one should not be the correct answer, but this is correct. Okay, so let's come here and say this is correct, but it should not be the correct answer. Mark it here. Now the next one is, let us assume these two vectors are moving in opposite direction. Let's say this one is moving this way, 3 meters. Now we said if one, not meters, I don't know why I'm always using meters, but we know what we are talking about, right? Vector quantities are quantities that have both magnitude and what? Direction. So in this case, if they are moving in opposite direction, what do you say? You say you subtract them. So 4 minus 3 is what? 1. So they can also yield the magnitude of 3. Now how about if they are at angle 90 degree to each other? If they are at angle 90 degree to each other, they will form a right angle triangle. So this one will be 4. Let's say this one will be 3. And this will be what? 4. Now if this is 3 and this is 4, what angle do you think they are going to? What is the resultant here? Resultant arrow will be equals to, arrow is the square root of 3 square plus 4 square. Because we said if you want to look for the resultant of the hypotenuse side, find the square root of the square of the opposite and the what? Adjacent, from Pythagoras rule, which says that arrow square is equals to a square plus b square. If your a is 3 and b is 4, your arrow now will be equals to, remove this square root from here by squaring, removing this square from here by square rooting both sides, becomes square root of a square plus b square. Because this square root here, we cancel this and then you are left with this. Okay, so at the end of the day, arrow will be equals to the square root. 3 square is 9, 4 square is 16. So arrow will be equals to 9 plus 16 is 25, and arrow will be equals to square root of 25 is 5. So the correct answer to this question is 5. Okay, and this is this. So which of them do you think they cannot be combined to give? Now, no matter how you combine this, it shall not give you 0. No matter how you combine it, it shall not give you 0. Now, the highest you can have is 7, and the least you can have is 3, is 1 rather. It cannot give you 0. So we say this is wrong. Are we actually looking for the wrong one for the correct answer? So the correct answer is option D. This is the correct answer because this is the one that is wrong. We said we are looking for the one that is wrong. And guess what? That will be the end of this video. Okay? That will be the end of this video on vector. So we've covered the chapter on vector quantity and all questions that needs to be answered there. Thank you for your time.